Cavecast, the uncensored show for nerds of all kinds.
Like, why would I try harder than I need to enjoy myself?
That's the only motion I want to do is just popping it open and then
I
putting it to my
know
lips.
alcohol needs to be fermented, and that takes time. That's already one thing I'm not going to do. And then two, I have to measure things. I'm not going to do that. I would like to sit down, play Skyrim, and have mead, and ignore my cat. That's all I need to do. I don't need to sit down and do chemistry that people have done for over a century just so I can have a drink I like.
But I mean, what if you could like completely customize it? What kind of mead would you make? There's no restrictions.
Have you ever had mulled apple cider?
I've always heard of mold, like either like mold wine or like mold cider, but I've never tried it.
It's just cinnamon and nutmeg and a star anise, and you just let it slow boil for like 4 hours. It's like barely simmer, and it just infuses all of that spice into like super rich apple cider.
Oh.
If I could get that with alcohol and honey in it, that would be my perfect mead.
So what you're saying is that for the time being, just pour some vodka in it and then a lot of honey, mix it up, and then hope for the best?
Yeah.
But no,
I would say that.
No, that does sound like it. That's a
no,
that's
don't
a good
ruin
flavor.
this for me. Hold
No.
on. Oh, oh, I don't know how well that. Oh, maybe you switch the vodka out for something else. I don't know what I would swap it out for, because I can't swap it out for gin. I don't want it to taste like pine needles.
Oh yeah, no, that'd be a bad time.
Though I do really like gin too. We need to probably stop talking about alcohol.
Well, it's
starting to become that old me.
Well, I think to give everybody some context is I tried to think about it yesterday and today, but I can't remember exactly how we got connected and how we met, because I know it was like when we were much younger. I want to say it was either like Boy Scouts or it was...
I was thinking about this too, because I know the bits that I remember the most is hanging out in choir.
Yes.
But I remember going on Boy Scout trips and like talking to you a lot, and then just being like, that was a cool trip, and then like coming home and just like never talking to you again.
Yeah. It was like that disconnect of like, where you see each other like in the school halls or whatever, and you're like, I know that guy, but...
And then once we started having classes with each other, specifically choir, because you were, what, 1 grade underneath me?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, so like we didn't...
I graduated in 2010.
Yeah, so we didn't have like classes together, like math, science, all that, but like choir was the one that like upperclassmen and lowerclassmen got to come together. So then I got to see you a lot, and then we got sat in the same section because we were bullying.
Yep.
And eventually, you were a bass the whole time, weren't you?
I was, yeah. I was never able to move into tenor just because it was like I kind of equate it with Sammy, where it was just like, no, it's like I can do it, but my voice just tires out a lot faster.
Yeah, our larynxes are too big to be tenors.
Yeah, I want to be though. Like I want to be able to hit good falsettos and stuff. But
you don't want to do that.
I don't.
No.
No.
The older you get, the more your voice is going to naturally come down anyway. You might as well just start there.
Well, hey, we can dream.
There's something beautiful about having a low, soulful voice your entire life. People being like, I can't sing the high notes like I used to. Man, I'm just like, I've been singing Johnny Cash since I was 4.
What's honestly like that, like,
boom, boom, boom,
what's like when it comes to like choir and everything too, like that was a place that I kind of always felt like a fraud, just because we would do like the sight singing, or sight reading.
Yeah,
and I
was never good at that even in college.
Well, what's funny was that I don't know if I ever told you this, but it was the last day of my senior year where our choir teacher looked at us and she's like, all of you, follow by example. Look at Kyle, he reads perfect music. And I remember sitting there and I just raised my hand. Like I could have not said anything, but there was that Christian side of me that was just like, I have to be honest, so I just raised my hand and I was like, I've actually never read a sheet of music in my life. And I'm like, I just followed everybody else around me and memorized the parts, and you play the same scales over and over again. So like, it just made me look like I knew what I was doing.
Yeah, that feeling when I was a section leader for like 6 years, it was just like, just because you're the loudest one, and I'm just like, it can't not be loud, Mrs. Mitchell. I don't know what to tell you. You yell at me every other class period to blend with the group, TJ. Yes, Mrs. Mitchell.
Yeah.
I'll blend with the group as best I can.
Which always is still overpowered, but I think that you stole the show in the best way, so, but
I
that's just
hope
me.
so.
Hmm.
I hope I didn't sound like that one dickwad that's like, look at me, everybody. Even though we know that's the kind of person that I am.
Well, I think that's like what I loved about what we did was that, it was a very interesting class of people that we had that had fairly decent voices, and every once in a while someone like would surprise you, but then there were some people that just could not get it,
We
and
very
they just, like,
much
hid
had a
themselves.
motley crew of people.
Yeah.
Look, strangely enough, like I do think we had probably one of the best choral groups in the state.
Mm.
For whatever reason, we all worked together.
Mhm.
There were all different facets of life. I will go on record saying that we were probably some of the best. I mean, you were the one that, like, you were in choir when we did Bohemian Rhapsody, weren't you?
I was, and I think that wasn't that the year that I swear it was either that or something else that we didn't petition for it, but there was this moment where it was like, man, like, can we have TJ do the guitar solo? To lead up to it, and Miss Mitchell was like,
Yeah.
"No, we're not doing that."
Yeah,
but still,
for,
I mean,
for
with what we did,
for years, I was trying to get Mrs. Mitchell to let me play guitar, other than me sing like an Eagles song and play guitar at the same time.
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
wanted her to be like, "Yeah, no, we're gonna have some drums here. We're gonna have bass, and then you'll play guitar." And she was always said, "No, we need you as the section leader. We need your voice." And I was just like, "This is horseshit, man."
Let me fly.
so glad she put her foot down the entire time, because it wouldn't have been as cool if.
No.
That's one of the only ever standing ovations I got growing up, was when we all finished Bohemian Rhapsody, and there's that split second where we were just like, it's really quiet in here. Did we fuck up? Did we do something? And then everyone stood up and clapped, and we were like, oh, fuck, oh, shit.
Oh, I guess we did something right.
Oh,
Everything's
cool.
good.
Yeah, thank you. I hope Freddie's okay with this.
Yeah.
Thanks, Freddie.
Well, I think that's what was really cool, was that like we got to do some pretty interesting songs. Like there was even I don't know if you were a part of it, but we did the song "Viva l'Amour," where it was like an Irish drinking song, and I think it was like, I want to say it was maybe like 4, 5, or 6 of us. I don't know if it was a quartet that did it, but
Yep.
it was that moment where, like, I know for me, and this is kind of interesting because I don't know if I ever told you this, but like in your creativity and just the person that you are, it very much intimidated me for a very long time. Like, and what I mean is that it's like you just like you did things with such excellence, and you still do.
I can't not. It's a nervous tick that I have to be a perfectionist. Otherwise, I'm just like, no, that was awful, and we need to redo it. Like, you've recorded with me before. How many times have I been like, yeah, it was pretty much perfect except for this measure, and we're gonna redo the whole thing instead of just that measure. I want all of it redone, because the feeling is the thing I care about, not the final product.
Right.
Even though the final product also has to be perfect.
It's that fine line of where's the click and how much can we stay on it while staying off of it.
By the way, that drinking song that we sang that Miss Mitchell convinced us was about drinking soda pop.
Oh, really? Was that the shit that she tried to spin?
Oh, yeah, she tried to. Yeah, of course she did. She like, this is she said this was a really good song, but it's like it's about drinking soda, and I was just like, no, it's fucking not.
No, this is a
and I
drinking
know because
song.
I did happen to acquire that music chart after the performance, and it's locked away somewhere up at mom and dad's in a filing cabinet, just tucked away. And I was just reading through it, and I looked it up one day, and I'm like, oh, this is like a historical song. Like, this is not about drinking fucking soda. Root beer. It's like, no, this isn't about root beer at all.
No, get the root out of there.
Speaking of root beer, do you know that shit's toxic?
What?
Yeah.
What, just like normal everyday root beer that you can buy?
Not anymore. Historically, it was made out of roots that were, I guess, in a swamp or whatever.
What the fuck?
Yeah, like swamp root. And then so you'd put it all together and you let it ferment for a long time, and it actually would have like a foamy head to it. And that was due to the fermentation and everything, and like you could only drink so much of it, and it'd literally just poison you. And somewhere down the line, everyone's like, "Man, root beer tastes really good, but I really don't want it killing me."
Right. yeah. We'll smoke cigarettes and do everything else that we do. You know, it's like that. Like
So then they eventually like swapped it over to something that tastes exactly like root beer, but apparently it was actually like all good things that we discover in life. The same world that gives us the means to live gives us the means to die, of course. But hey, what are you gonna do? Root beer's so good. My grandpa, it's the only soda he ever drank.
Really? So he wasn't like a Dr. Pepper guy. Didn't like dive into anything else.
Oh no! Like if he ever had soda at my grandmom's house, it was always because it was the only one. And every time we went over there, we were like, "Man, root beer again!" And then my grandma would be like, "All right, here's a root beer float," and we were like, "Yay, root beer!"
See, add ice cream, everything changes. See, that makes everything better.
Everything changes.
I think that
You got me thinking devious thoughts like today. Like first it's alcohol, now it's ice cream. Like I'm not gonna have any end to this. I'm gonna go home just fiending and spending my entire paycheck on Giant Eagle.
You know what? I think that honestly, like sometimes you just need that good ice cream float. You know, where it's just like you've had a rough week. Where like some people are like, oh, like I want a good shot of Jameson or I want that, but it's like, nah, man, I'm digging into the sauce tonight. You know,
You ever had a
like,
root beer milkshake?
No, never.
Oh yeah, it's awesome. It's like when you get to like the bottom of your root beer float and it's that kind of like watered down version of the entire thing.
I'm a big fan of it, dude. Yeah.
Oh, you like the watered down bit?
I actually said something in a detour video the other day where it was somebody asked the question. They were like, "What's a fictional drink or food that you wish that you could eat?" You know, from like from any like book, movie, or whatever. And I wanted to actually have like real like butter beer from Harry Potter.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know what the association was. I don't know why, but when I was a kid and I would have that residue left, I would actually like make sure that there was quite a bit left and I would mix it up to where it had like that almost like caramel kind of look to it, you know, and I would take that down and my thought was, I'm like, oh, this must be like what butterbeer tastes like. It was like my way I would have like my own butterbeer, but I'm a fan of it.
I never imagined butterbeer ever tasting good.
Really?
When you put butter's a great thing, Kyle. As somebody who grew up in the Midwest, you know that butter's a great thing.
It's a fantastic thing.
California like invented ranch to keep us fat because they're afraid of us. Like, there's no two ways around that. Like, we've invented certain things like blooming onions, like deep fried Oreos. Like, these are not things for health. These are for your soul. But there are some things you don't apply that science to. Deep fried ice cream is one of those rare things where you're just like, but ice cream would melt when you deep fry, and then you eat it, and it's the most perfect, glorious thing ever.
See, that always tripped me out because I always imagined that like you would get like almost like a fried food like bite or something that you would bite into, and they would have like a center to it or something, you know. But it's like the first time I ever had it, I was like, wow, this is kind of genius. I never would have thought of that.
But my problem is butter melts. Butter is made to melt and like coat a thing.
Yeah.
You've had pancakes where you put like a single little dollop of butter on top and it melts around the top of it. How do you feel when that butter doesn't melt when you put it on top of the pancake? It's a cold pancake and it just sits there.
That is honestly like one of the worst things because it's like waking up in the morning and you're thinking to yourself, yes, this is all I need is a solid breakfast. And now you've got to work through this just intense experience of trying to get it right. Then you microwave it, that it's way too long. It's like now it's screaming hot. You can't enjoy it.
Yeah, and then you like the microwave kind of breaks it down. It's the you set the Eggo on the counter for like 3 minutes too long, and you had to go to the bathroom, come back, and then you put the butter, and now you're eating cold butter on top of that. Have you eaten cold butter?
It's awful.
Have you ever made a man stick?
A man stick.
A
man stick.
It's something my dad references a lot. You just take a stick of butter and you just dip it in a sugar barrel, and you just.
What the fuck? This is.
I don't
he deliberately
remember.
Did this? He
I don't
deliberately did this.
I don't fucking know. I don't remember where it's from or what, but he references it quite a bit, and it's an awful. If you've ever actually tried it. Because you get curious and you need to know. And so like, eating cold butter is not a great experience. Now, cold beer.
I'm just imagining. Sometimes I see shit in my head. I'm just imagining your dad, mustache and all, just chomping on this thing in the fucking garage. He's like, "Yeah, need a break."
A handful of peanuts in one hand, Bush Light in the other. No, regular.
Oh my god.
But cold beer is great. It's the same argument with fruitcake. Fruit is great. Cake is great. Fruitcake is never the greatest appeal.
I've
in the
never
world.
been impressed by it. Never.
Cold beer, great.
Mm-hmm.
Butter, great.
But they're conflicting against each
J.K. Rowling strikes me as somebody who's never been to the Midwest.
Oh god.
I don't think that person has ever been anywhere near the Great Lakes. Anywhere from Oklahoma up to Montana and from mountain to mountain, like, no.
And she just lives in the UK where they have
lives on
tea.
this tiny little weird island right off the Atlantic where they deep fry a lot of things, and curry is their national food now.
Really?
Yeah, you didn't know that.
No, I'm very unfamiliar with the world, so
Well, Britain kind of went to India and they did a lot of things. History.
which I know none of.
We won't get too much into that because there's a lot of he said, she said kind of stuff. And basically the spice trail and all that back and forth, and eventually just there's a shit ton of curry in England, dude. I know a lot of people think like fish and chips and a whole bunch of other things. It's fucking curry. It's a lot of curry.
See, I'm actually very excited to hopefully one day make it across the pond because actually Crystal taught English in Japan, so she's been in that side of the world and stuff. So she's talked about wanting to take me over there, but I have my crippling fear of the ocean, so it's like
swear to God, if you
flying
go
over,
if you go to Japan without me, after me spending fucking 4 years learning Japanese, after growing up, because Grandpa was in the Navy, so I learned all the Japanese symbols and stuff, and then I got into college, and they're like, you can take Japanese as a class, and I was like, yes. I'm like, I hope Tomita Sensei and Yuki Sensei are at least a little bit proud of me, but good Lord, I know I was probably a handful. If you go there and you fucking tell me or bring shit back and let me go, I'm gonna be a little salty at you.
I promise I will give you the biggest hug and say I'm sorry.
That's not reassuring, Kyle.
I'll do what I can.
You better take me or better tell me, hey, listen, I'm going to give you the biggest apology when I get back.
What was it? It's the whole thing. It's like do and ask for forgiveness later, so I take the Mick Gordon approach with that. So, so it's that type of thing.
Oh, great. Oh, I appreciate that.
But no, I think that it's honestly like just other cultures, like they really fascinate me, especially when it comes to the UK, because one of our buddies lives there, so it's like he's talked about like what the culture is like, or how things are, and it's one of those that like my fear and apprehension of traveling has always been I know that there are customs, I know that there's like certain things that are offensive some places and aren't in others, so it's like for me it's like, man, like I hope I don't stick out like a sore thumb, I mean I'm an American, so I'm gonna stick out anyway, but
England
it's kind of
is
like
not too, because hell, I toured Europe for a sec, right?
Yeah, so that was when you college, right?
It was before
it
was a group called the Ambassadors of Music, where like they picked the most elite people from like all over Ohio and stuff like that. And we trained for a while, then we flew over and we did a bunch of performances. England was probably the most similar to being here. They tend to be slightly more reserved until there's alcohol in them, in which case it's basically like just like America. But I would say the biggest culture shock was I don't know. Like you kind of felt pretty welcome it's like people are people. It's not that different. As long as you kind of keep to yourself and you are respectful, you'll be fine. I will say in England, we did perform in a park and they did almost riot basically until we told them we were going to do an encore.
If that's not one of the most badass things, dude, where it's like, no, man, you better keep going, otherwise we're going to fucking throw hands.
There's a bunch of people just walking around drinking beer in the park, which I'm not sure if you're supposed to do or not, but kudos to them for showing up. One dude in the front just had his shirt off and was just screaming encore, and he just kept raising his arms to everybody behind him, and eventually it was just this shout of encore, encore, and us as newly graduated high school students in a completely different country with no ability to escape. We're just like, I guess we gotta fucking give him an encore.
We don't have any songs left. What are we gonna do?
Like 5 minutes ago, I was just feeding a pigeon a muffin, and now I'm being shouted at to do an encore by a bunch of drunk British people. I'm like, all right, I just want to get back to the hotel, man.
do you remember what encore you guys ended up pulling out? Or
Oh
like,
god, it was, well, the thing is, like, we did the final song. We did the big finale. And apparently the big finale wasn't big enough for them, so we did the big finale again.
Just one more time, except everybody just get a little louder.
Because there was the choir, and then there was like a full band, like a high school band with every fucking instrument. And apparently us singing with them doing their own thing and doing a solo, and then us coming together at the end. It was so loud and so big, and it's like an 8-minute song. Which, if you've ever sang through 8 full minutes of song, it's a long fucking time.
Yeah.
Most songs like 3 minutes, 4 at max. But no, 8 minutes is a long time, and especially you've already done the full performance, and you're like, all right, that's it. We're all done. I'm glad you guys liked it. Everyone applaud. And then the riot starts kind of like quelling in the background a little bit. You see people pulling out like shovels and clubs and stuff out of note. And they actually didn't, but let's, you know.
I was about to say it's going to get very intense.
It was mostly just, we were a little concerned that people were going to start throwing stuff.
Oh my God.
Like, everyone was just excited, man. I can't really blame them. We had a lot of fun, but at the same time, Britain, you kind of scary when you get excited.
Oh my God. Well, I think that it's one of those where it's like that, like it's for me, like I see that it's like it's a passion for art, man. Like it's the the thing of that it's like they're, whether or not they're intoxicated or not, where it's like it's like they're so in the moment where it's like you guys did something incredible there. Like that's, like you think about like those isolated incidents, or you think about, those things that you get to experience because, you have a talent or you have a creative ability, and when people just can't get enough of it, like that's, it's the heroin that's safe. It's that type of thing where it's like, man, I want to chase that dragon as much as possible.
I'd very much say any kind of art form is a lot like that. It's very different in France, though.
As far
It does not
as
feel very welcome in France.
really?
No.
See, I've heard that the stereotype, like when they're like, oh no, like it's like that side of the world like either has like distaste for like one culture or another, but like I've heard that they're actually quite friendly. But also Macaulay Culkin said that, so I don't know if it's like,
one of those things. Anybody that I met in France was really, really nice one-on-one, and a lot of older people, super, super kind, knowing that we were over there to do a performance or something. During our performance in France, nobody clapped.
Oh wow.
So that kind of painted a little bit, even at like the end of the performance, like,
man, so for me, it's like if I don't have like if I don't have the clap, no, but it's like if I don't have like claps or whatever, like for me, it's like how do you transition? Like what's the right amount of silence till you move on to the next like song or whatever?
After like the second or third song, we kind of just figured like, all right, this is just how it's gonna be. All right, cool. And then we left that performance, and we're just like, man. Oof. And then like we went to Germany and like Austria and Switzerland, and everybody else was totally fine with us. But it was just like we went to England and we were like, yeah, like they encored us, like yeah, we're having a great time. Then straight to France and then nothing. It's just like, oh man, did we fuck this up? We should have came here last.
Well, I think that it's interesting because like even I think I'm trying to want to make sure I get my countries right, but John Bernthal, talked about when he saw this wonderful stage, he saw this wonderful Broadway performance where he was so taken by, the atmosphere in this world that they created that he jumped up and just started applauding and whooping.
That's right. Yep.
And he's like, unfortunately it was Kevin Spacey, but he's like, he was on stage and he's like, he looked right at me when it happened. So he's like, I guess that's something that you don't do over there or whatever. So I can't remember if it was England or if it was Russia or wherever he was, but it's like, he kind of got that culture shock of realizing like, oh shit, like no, like you need to be polite.
Yeah.
It's not like, going off the rails and like whooping it up, and everything. I mean, which I like both. I think that there's a time for both, but like letting it loose is the best, man. It's
There's
so
some
cool.
places where like everyone waited to the end to like completely like it was quiet the entire time. Then at the end,
Sure.
applauded for like 5 fucking straight minutes, and we were just like, this is overwhelming.
Right.
Like we performed as best we could, and we thought like, oh, they're not because we kind of and it's part of jazz culture too. It's after each solo,
Mm.
you're supposed to applaud.
Mm.
So like we do very, very different over here, but the biggest culture shock I would say is like, you know how close states are in the United States.
Yeah.
Like Ohio to Pennsylvania, Ohio to Indiana. That's like 2, 3, 4 hour drive.
Sure.
Imagine going from Austria to Germany or like into Switzerland and that being like 45 minutes.
Really?
And then it being a completely different culture, completely different language.
Wow.
And then you realize this is why y'all bicker so much. Because like from Rittman to Chippewa, like 25 minutes.
Right.
Like I know a good majority of people will be like 25 minutes isn't a measure of distance. It's a measure of distance.
No, it's honestly that's how I associate everything. You know,
but
it's
we're mortal enemies with Chippewa.
Yeah, right.
We decided a long time ago, like, no, we hate each other in sports team. Like, you imagine going 45 minutes, completely different people, completely different culture, and you're just like, yeah, you're different than like of course like everyone's a little bit like rubbing up against each other and it's just like no this is my spot you stay over there and it's like well you stay over there.
I think that it's the honestly what kind of makes me think of as well I think it was John Panette that said that he had been craving Italian food the entire time while they were shooting something over in that corner of the world and like them being on set for 3 weeks where they were like, oh, we'll just go to Italy. It's like a 20-minute drive. And he's like, I have been telling you this the whole time, you know? So like, it's so interesting.
Dude, food, people, like all of that was perfect over there. Everybody that we ever talked to was always like really curious what we were doing there. Like willing to actually I sat down and had a couple beers with like a couple people here and there and just asking us where I was. This one person told me where to get a really nice pair of pants, and then I bought them.
No shit.
Then I brought them home and lost them. So thank you, appreciate that. I don't remember who you were, but awesome job, great, thank you, Germany. And like there wasn't the only bad part was just like driving around in a bus.
Yeah.
And all the performance. Like if I was just over there not performing, it would have been great. But because I was putting on performances and I was like doing my absolute best and sleeping on a bus, like so tired.
Yeah.
Just so tired. And then I got back home and the first thing I wanted was a cheeseburger and a Mountain Dew.
Right. It would be fully American, yeah.
Though I did have one Mountain Dew when I was over there.
Now is it and I'm curious, is it the same? Like are we talking like is it the same flavor palette and everything? Like
absolutely, it was imported. And it was in the world's tiniest country, Liechtenstein.
Liechtenstein.
Yeah, if you've never heard of Liechtenstein, it's about the size of a county. Like you think Rhode Island's little, like Liechtenstein is tiny.
Wow.
But you go there's like a gas station, like 2 castles, and then you leave.
So like no homes or like nothing like that?
I mean, there is, but good Lord, I didn't see any.
Well, I've heard before that it's like I think Mick Gordon said it where he was like the town that he's from. He's like we had what they called the 3 Ps, which was the pub, the police office, and then the post office.
Yeah, that's literally
and that's it. Yeah,
that was it. But at that one specific gas station, for whatever reason, they had a shit ton of imported things from all over the place, from all the countries, and one of them was the U.S. They have these stickers that are about this fucking big, which I don't know if you know how big a pop can is. That covers an entire pop can.
Yeah.
All the way around it. So it's just like these yellow cans filling up an entire cooler. And just like right around the top rim, I see this like green and silver. And I'm just like, bet that's a Mountain Dew. And I picked it up and had to like look through it like a library book. And I was just like reading the tiny ass print around the side. And it said Mountain Dew imported from the United States at this date. And I was like, so then I sat in their little like quarter machine out front. And I just sat in this tiny little red car. And just drank my single can of Mountain Dew. Because it's either Coke, water, or nothing over there.
Really?
Coke, water, seltzer water, beer.
Wow.
Yep.
Man, so it's not a lot of diversity with that stuff, huh?
Coke is everywhere.
Well, right.
Coke is a universal, apparently.
Well, it's like I would argue that it's probably right up there with like SpongeBob or whatever, where it's just worldwide. You know, it's like there's no culture that hasn't been affected by it.
Yeah, SpongeBob is worldwide now, isn't it? Kyle, I'm old.
We're both old.
I would say older.
Well, yeah, I welcome it. I love it. I cannot wait till I'm old and senile. It's gonna be so great.
I'm gonna have to figure out other things to do when my dick doesn't work, though. 'Cause it takes up a lot of brain power just to have one that works. Once it's not, like, what am I gonna do? Is that why old people like just start doing shit?
They start gardening, or they start
Just like, well, the
taking up
hormones
things.
don't go from there to there anymore. They just stay here. I'm gonna go put a mop handle through some kid's spokes while he's going by, and it's like, is that what I'm gonna become?
Well, it's honestly like now that I've like been a homeowner for however long, and I see kids coming through my yard, I actually have that moment where I'm like, "What the you motherfucker!"
I edged that part of the lawn, you little bastard.
That's honestly like it's to me. It was just like that moment. Like I had to stop myself because I almost went out with a broom. I was about to be like, "Yo, what the fuck are you doing?" And then I sat back and I went, "Hold on, Kyle. Think about what you were like when you were a kid. How many yards did you cut through? You were just trying to get to a friend's place. Or maybe you were trying to get
Lord
home.
Is watching you.
I don't know. He'll be fine. I think we should give him a show.
The Lord gave us this broom handle. It's my right to use it.
Or I'm going to go inside and get a shovel. Actually, I will say that I did have a couple of kids that showed up, and they were. I want to say that it was. God, it's like either they wanted to mow or they wanted to weed whack or something. And they're like, yeah, it's like, we're just taking care of yards. And I had that moment where I was like, you know what? You go right ahead. I was like, make that happen. And I was like, yeah, like, how much you guys charge? Like, we're doing it for free. I'm like, fuck yeah, dude, go for it. So, but it's like little bits of that, show up every now and then. Although I will say that around the time that, pot was not legal around these parts, and the full effect that it is now, I had gotten my medical card, for like a little while, but there was a time period there where it was like, you do street or you like, you try to like, make your thing happen.
Sure.
And I remember it was the first time I had ever smoked inside the house. Like the house was like to myself, and I was like, okay, let's do this. It was too perfect, man. I got done. There was a knock at my door. And my first thought was, my
life a movie, dog.
Dude, I don't know how I kept it together, but I looked out the window. There's a cop.
Of course. Couldn't have been something like your mom, couldn't have been a neighbor, no.
No, it was literally like the most terrified I think I'd ever been in my life. And I was like, well, if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. I'm not gonna not answer the door. He saw me peek out, so now he's gonna think I'm hiding something, which I am.
Mm-hmm.
And I opened the door. And I remember, I smoked in the kitchen, so maybe, like, it won't waft over here yet. So I kind of, like, just stepped outside. I smell like Snoop Dogg's fingers, like, walking out of here, And he's like, we got a phone call from, from a kid, that was in distress. They called 911, and the call cut off. So, like, we traced it to this area, and I'm soaking all this in. I'm like, oh, my God. And so I kind of, like, phase out for a second. Then the only question I heard was, are there any children in the house? And I took a second because it threw me off, and I went, "What? No." I was like, "No, there's not." And he went, "Okay,
that's why you're here."
Yeah, and I was like, "Okay, well," I'm like, "Oh, if I hear anything, I'm like, I'll let you guys know." And he's like, "Okay, yeah." He's like, give us a call." He's like, "Thank you for your time." He walked away, and I shut the front door, and it was that moment of.
Yeah.
Holy shit. I'm like, oh my God, what the fuck was that about?
Your whole body was just like adrenaline, hold. Hold.
Oh God, that was seriously one of the worst times ever. And but after that, like once you experience that, like nothing scares you with that anymore, So it was just, I don't know, that was one of the most surreal times I've ever had.
For me, it was when I was delivering pizza for Romeo's.
So what ended up happening?
Well, because I don't know if you've ever worked in a pizza place before, but
I've not, no.
It's hot, it's grueling. I'm covered in 80% hair. I look like a Sasquatch with mange, so it doesn't grow everywhere, but the bits that it does grow are the pots that get hot. So everybody that goes out back either smokes cigarettes or smokes weed or just goes out back to just like breathe and bitch about customers.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you'd go back and forth to like deliver and stuff like that, you would have a little bit of a toke just to get you through the fucking night because everything was awful.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, I don't have a job where I have to do that shit anymore. I can just show up, do the work, and then leave.
So, yep, go medicated home. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where I don't have to worry about shit. But when you're a young, stupid teenager and you do that kind of stuff, and you deliver at a house, and then you're on your way back to the pizza place, and a cop lights you up from behind.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
Oh, yeah, and it's dark out, so, like, those lights just shine for a quarter mile in all directions, showing how stupid of a little asshole you're being.
And then the first thought that goes through your mind is, I'm going to prison.
I'm going to prison. My parents are gonna find out. Like, oh, God, everything's just gonna fall apart on me. Like I'm never gonna see the light of day. They're gonna put me in solitary. Like, every awful thought going through your head, and then them coming up to the window and just being like, "Hey, so you need to be this speed on this road, and you're going a little fast." And I was like white knuckling the steering wheel, like
you have a CCW.
I'm real sorry about it. I'm real sorry. And then just I know because. Smoking, I'm sure you've noticed this. If there's weed in the room, if there's actual herb in the room, that room smells like a dispensary.
Yep.
Versus if somebody has just smoked,
oh, it's a whole new level.
and is walking by you, not that stanky.
What, really? You think so?
No, if you smell their breath and it's like on their clothes, yeah, a little bit.
Oh, sure.
A little bit. Let's say I just ground up a bunch and just left it on the table here, and then we leave and go have lunch and come back.
Yeah, it's gonna be just ruminating.
It
the
is
entire
just,
room.
and it is aerating and aromating the entire aromating. I can spell it; it's a word.
No, I got you. Yeah.
The actual substance itself versus like you have just smoked it, very very different smell. Like people that walk in where I do work, like you can tell the people that have just smoked versus the people that it's in your pocket.
Right. Yeah.
It's in your pocket, dude. Like you went to the bathroom and you came back to the front and it smells like a dispensary back there. Versus the person that just smoked in their car and then came in, you're just like, I think I smell a little bit of it. And then like halfway through and then they leave, you're just like, oh yeah, okay, I think they might have. But if they're in the room with you,
yeah,
and it's in their purse, in their pocket of their coat or whatever, like, oh my God.
Well, especially if it's like just in a bag that they just like rolled up, or if it's like not like in a like proper like container.
First of all, rude bringing it to my place of work where I can't enjoy it. And it's sitting there for like an hour and a half where I can't do shit about it other than just be like, God, I wish this would get me high right now, but it won't.
Well, it's honestly it's like something cooking in the house that you can't like like indulge in.
Oh
like,
yeah,
no
it's the neighbor that has on like spare ribs in the backyard, and
God.
You're peeking over the fence like Wilson. Just,
Heidi ho, neighbor.
Yeah, heidi ho indeed. What are you putting on that? You got any left? Like.
Dude, honestly, that's the one thing that I'm waiting for the most is that like I know like everybody's probably got like cabin fever right now, just because of like the weather and everything. But like that to me, like there is no better feeling in the world besides other like my other top 10 things that would be better feelings. But like, dude, it's just like when you walk outside and it's like, man, like there's that mixture of freshly cut grass, then you've got somebody is making ribs or they're just grilling hot dogs or something.
That
like
smell of like charcoal.
Yeah, dude, it's like it's those things where like, dude, like I've tried to pay attention to the good things, where it's I mean like you and I have had many personal conversations about life and like just like mental health and everything, and it's like sometimes it's harder to see the other side and like see the green grass and stuff, but man, like I don't know like exactly what it is. I think that, being in a healthy relationship has helped out a lot, but like with everything else too, like, I'm not as irritable anymore. Like, I'm not, I'm like enjoying like just what I have in front of me, and it's like, it's like taking those things where like today was the best day ever. It's like, well, why? It's like, dude, I smelled somebody barbecuing. And it's like, really? It's like, no, dude, like seriously, like it will just lift your spirits. It's like a day that you can have all the windows open, so it's just that is to me that is something that like I am so hungry for, you know, like, and I'm so ready for. So like being cooped up's kind of getting to me a little bit, you know, but
Oh yeah,
I'm making it as best as I can, but it's enjoying the little things, man, you know.
see, I like all this cold shit.
See that this is your forte.
Yeah, this isolationism and stuff. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm ready for spring so I can like go swimming and I can go on hikes and stuff like that. But man, the other day I got out into my car and it was 0 degrees Fahrenheit,
Oh,
which means that my car said oof because 0 degrees and then the F. And I got in, and you know that feeling when it's so cold that your skin hurts for a split second when the wind hits you?
I can't do it. Oh, dude, no.
Oh, it's
no.
so good.
Man, it's what is it about it that you think that like that draws you to that?
Oh, I don't fucking know. Probably the endorphins. I don't know, but like if once it gets above like 65, 70,
No, not your thing.
no. Like I said, Sasquatch with mange. I literally turn into a puddle. It's no fun.
Well, it's I couldn't be more the contrast only because like when I was a baby, I would have mom told me what they were, but I would essentially like I would have seizures where it's like the idea like my fever would spike like really really fast, like I would like go up like 3 degrees and stuff. So and I didn't know this for the longest time. My mom told me about it, but yeah. What?
How long have I known your ass and you never told me that you had fucking heat seizures?
I don't know if they were heat seizures, but they were like.
Pretty sure that's what you just said. You had heat seizures.
No, there's an actual name for it, but no, it's one of those things that like mom told me kind of like later in life, where she's like, no, she's like, I would be like, you know, just like feeding you or like whatever, and like this would start happening, and like so I'm like, oh my god, so like I was like a fucking problem even when I was like when I had no control over anything, but like it's interesting, yeah, more that you know, right?
So you were having hot flashes like you were going through menopause at like 3 years old, 4 years old?
That's okay, it all balanced out. Everything's good now. So, but reason I bring it up is because it's the idea that it's like I get cold so fast. So I think that's like a byproduct of like, you know, like how my body like, you know, reacts to things and stuff. Like I don't even know if there's like a real term for it, but what I call them essentially cold attacks, where it's like I'll start to like convulse or like I'll get like nauseous or whatever because like my like core temperature drops too fast. So like it more so happens when like for instance, like if I'm sitting on the couch like in a t-shirt and it's really cold outside and I'm like gaming, you know, and like an hour or so will go by where like at the beginning of that hour I was kind of getting cold and didn't, you know, like take care of it, but then it's like it just like will go downhill, and the next thing I know I can't play Doom because my fingers don't work, you know. So it's like I tend to avoid being outside in the cold as much as possible. So yeah, I just it's even as a kid, like when I would see people like at school and stuff, like they'd be like wearing like, you know, jackets without like scarves and like, you know, hats and stuff. They'd just be standing like, I mean, you were one of them, where I'd look over and I'm like, you motherfucker, like I'm over here about ready to pop like a tick because I got so many fucking layers over me, and like I would like, you know, disassemble myself when I get to my locker, you know. So yeah,
I didn't know you were a freeze baby.
Yep, big freeze baby, yeah, 100%.
Oh, I should get you some reusable hand warmers.
Reusable hand warmers?
Oh, you've never seen those? They have like a little metal disc in them, and you like snap the disc, and it just like completely turns white, and then it's like hot for like 4 or 5 hours.
No shit.
Oh, buddy.
Yeah, no, it's if I was gonna get anything, I want to get the Milwaukee jackets
so
that take
good.
a battery, you know, that has like the heater in it, you know.
Oh, they're so good, and you just boil them, and then they go back to normal, and whenever you need to use it, you just snap it again. Oh, it's so good.
So how many times can you use it?
I don't know if there's a limit.
Really?
It's a chemical reaction, so as long as like it doesn't get punctured or like the chemical wears down over, hell, I don't fucking know what it is, but it's awesome. And they make ones for like over top your shoulders or like, yeah, but they're great. You can get a whole like 20 pack online for however much. Like
no shit.
30, $40.
See, that's I usually just try to like, you know, keep you know, as many layers around me as possible, where it's kind of like, all right, cool, like I've got like, you know, my robe, but I've also got like my hoodie and like different things.
Because you're not a big blanket house.
Well, it's kind of recently we have, but in the same hand is that I actually have 2 or 3 blankets that were being used in the studio that were being hung up, right? But the 2 purple ones,
that's right.
Yeah, it's
they were all on the fucking walls.
It was a nightmare just to make that room work. But no, I remember I was looking over at the couch one day, and this is a long time ago. But Ambrose, the big kitty, he loves that thing. He nurses on it. So a lot of the blankets have been delegated to the cats now.
Just
So like
sits there and just chews on it. And
yeah. So it's one of those where it's like we are a blanket household, but it's one of those that it's like no, like I tend to like more rely on just like no, man, I got my comfy pants, got slippers, got things like that. But like I have to make sure that I'm at a good place like all the time.
You need to be like our house, and I just have so many blankets that it's a problem, even though I only ever use like one.
It's your favorite one. Yeah.
No,
Really?
it swaps intermittently. It's just like I only ever need one. It's like this will cover my legs for like 15 minutes, and I'm like, I'm too fucking hot, and then I'll take it off for the rest of the night. Just like that little bit of warmth bump that I need.
It just like it kind of like jump starts the engine a bit.
I guess so, but like I don't have that same kind of like I'm freezing to the point I'm going to die by sitting still kind of thing like you do. I'm a little bit chilly. I'll put it on my leg, and then once I get up and then get back down again, I'm just like I'm completely warmed up. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, no. That's it.
This is a fun question to ask you.
What's that?
What part of your body generates heat? Because I've learned as being a massage therapist, not a lot of people know the answer to this question, and it's disquieting.
So it's so like a specific like only one.
Yeah, there's
one specific body part that generates heat
of your body. I'm not going to say like your pinky, like and there's a certain part of your body that functions to generate heat. And there's not a lot of people that know what it is.
I would have to say it's your core. It's like it's all your internal organs and everything. It's essentially the engine of your body, you know.
No.
Really?
Yes.
So what would it be?
Your muscles generate heat.
Muscles.
Yes.
All over the body.
Yes.
Well, that's a much better design than what I thought. Here I was like, yeah, it's like a big epicenter and it just travels throughout the body. Or
what happens when you work out?
That's it. Your muscles get sore.
You start sweating.
Mm-hmm. Oh, shit. Never thought of it like that. So muscles.
Why? Why does nobody think of that? Like I know like I grew up kind of like around nurses and stuff, and like I'm a massage therapist, so of course I know about muscles, but you work out and you get fucking hot. Like you move around a whole bunch, you're doing work outside, you get fucking hot, and everyone's just like, it's my organs. I'm like
So cause I take it from being in scouts and stuff, like whenever it would be like us, like, you know, on like Klondikes, which I fucking hated. I don't know why I went on so many of them, but because those were lots of.
We just had this conversation. You don't like cold.
No, and somehow I made it through, and but I always wanted to fucking go home. But
dude, I love the cold, and you never caught my ass on a Klondike. Ever. I never went on a Klondike. Ever. Because I know how stupid it is to be outside camping.
I think that what really pissed me off was that the one camp out that we were on, because they would do like, I mean, sometimes they would do it at Camp Manitowoc or something. Like, they actually did it up behind the Legion at one point. They was like all like the big like open fields and stuff. But I just remember we got to the campsite, and this is a typical Ohio weather, but we unpacked, got everything set up, but like it was kind of like a warmer fall night, you know. And I remember Jordan, you know, he was standing by his tent, like he just had like a t-shirt on, like everybody was like kind of chit-chatting, doing their thing. And I woke up the next morning and all I remember was hearing, "Oh my God, it's everywhere." And we unzipped the tent and snow just fell in. And I remember looking out, like, I'm not even kidding. It was like 1.5 or 2 feet of snow had fallen that night. And it was just like, all right, guys, now it's a Klondike, and we're going to suffer through this, and we'll see how it happens. But it was just like tent time was the best time, because it was just like, no, man, I'm going to get in my cocoon and everything will be better. You know, I mean, like the food and stuff we made was great, you know, because it was like big, you know, hearty meals, and it was, you know, very yummy and things. But it was just kind of like, nah, man, the rest of it it just blew. I couldn't do it.
Well, you know the rule about being in Boy Scouts, right?
I mean, there's which one?
Every single place you go, it's going to rain.
That is true. Yeah.
No matter where we fucking went, it rained once we got there.
Always be prepared, man. Always, yeah.
So you decided, oh, it's a nice fall kind of feeling evening. Surely nothing bad will happen to me because I have a tent. No. You're a Boy Scout.
You are in the elements.
You decided that you were fucked from the beginning. You could have just gone camping and everything would have been fine, but you had to be in a Boy Scout troop and go camping.
What would you say, like, in your time in the Scouts, like when you think of moments that were just like, I don't know how we got through it, or like whether it was like something went wrong, like what's something that stands out to you? Like, because I know ours was a camping canoe that we didn't even finish the trip because so many people's canoes ended up capsizing because of the rapids, that like it was one of the more intense things where I realized, I'm like, oh my God, someone might die. Like, this is intense.
I'm pretty sure it was when we went camping on the beach.
The beach.
Yeah, when we went to the Outer Banks.
Oh, see, I didn't go to that one. Yeah.
Yeah, we went to the Outer Banks, and when we got down there, it was getting close to like 6, 7 o'clock at night. Sun was already starting to set. Nobody had their tents up yet. So we had to set up our tents in the dark, which wasn't fun.
No.
And then add beach level wind to that.
Oh, God.
So we're trying to hold on to shit while it's trying to blow away while it's dark, to the point that we almost can't see, and we're still trying to get stakes in the sand, which, mind you,
don't stay.
Doesn't fucking work.
No.
Nobody told us that bit. And by the time we get into our tents and everything's coated, in the morning, it is just downpouring.
Oh.
To the point that, like, you look off into the distance and there's just a wall of water that you can't see past, like 2 miles down the road. Just that level of rain.
Dear God.
I got out of my tent and put my fucking snorkel on. My little snorkel and my mask, and I had flippers with me. Because
oh my God.
I was a kid and I thought I would need those at the beach. So I had goggles and a snorkel and a rain poncho on, making pancakes. Because I was just like, and I kept looking over at scout leaders and being like, this is what you did to me. You did this.
You forced my hand.
We could have waited a day. You guys could have checked the weather before we left. One of you could have checked weather.com. But no, we're down here in this. Look at me.
Let me be a dramatic representation of everybody's pain right now.
Yeah, that was the whole bit. I was just like, if it's gonna be this shitty, I'm gonna show everybody how shit. And I don't know how many pictures got taken of me, but I know there's a couple floating around there.
That's probably
It's
on the
just
early
like,
days of Facebook or some shit.
Because when people were just like, "Oh, how was your trip to the Outer Banks?" Just
oh, so you had a great time. Everything was wonderful.
This is what happened.
Yeah.
This is what we dealt with and it was the entire time. It was windy and rainy and shitty for a good majority of it.
Yeah.
And then I stepped on a horseshoe crab.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
So it's what was the original plan? Like, say that it hadn't rained. Like, what was your guys' like thing? Like, were you guys gonna go like tour some places, or like just hang out?
It was the same thing.
Just hang out on the beach.
Yeah, it was mostly beach time and like going here, and I think we went to Kitty Hawk or something at one point. That could have been a different trip, but the majority of it was camping on the beach.
No shit.
And then camping on the beach turned into trying to survive on the beach. Though I will say, you never sleep better than you do when you're on sand.
Really?
Oh, it forms to your body, and you're just
sure.
perfect little mold. So
Man.
good.
See, it's because I know like we would do like different things where like, you know, like for instance, like I never went on them, but it was where they would go to Mammoth Caves, you know, and like so like you could see kind of, you know, normal, you know, cave systems and stuff, but if you wanted to go deeper, you could do it. And I like even back then, like I didn't really understand that I had claustrophobia, but then like
did you go spelunking?
No, never. No, it's I know for a fact that like if I put myself in that situation, that's when there will be a cave in, and the only way out is to go 1,000 feet through like a small little crawl hole to get out to a bigger system that leads to a smaller, tighter hole.
I thought you went on the spelunking trip with us because that was something that I got to do.
No, I was very much I enjoyed, you know, just doing like normal campouts where like, I mean, like we would do like shooting camp, or we would do, you know, like, you know, like my favorite was Cut Loose, where we would, I think wasn't it Telford Spawn? I think it was like a property that your family owned.
We went out to Phase.
Yeah. Cause that was honestly like my favorite place to go, just because it was kind of like you could work on merit badges if you wanted to, or you could, you know, just swim the entire time, or you could read a book, or you like whatever. Like it was just the idea that like, you know, the wind was just at your back and you could do whatever you wanted, you know? And that was actually the same trip that I don't know if you were on this one, but they took us to the Witch's Well
No.
Dude, it was one of the things that made me realize I could not trust any of my superiors at all. Just because we ended up, except John came over, our scoutmaster, and he was like, "Yeah, he's like, we want to take you guys on a night hike, and apparently there's a witch's well that." And before he could finish, one of the younger kids went, "It glows." And they tied a rope around all of us. They didn't let us take any flashlights. Went up into this patch of woods and found this witch's well, and it was glowing green. And I remember thinking, "Oh my god, this is gonna be like my first like real physical paranormal experience I'm gonna have, rather than like, oh, I heard a noise or this and this." And I remember looking down in the well and I went, "What the fuck?" And I jumped down and pulled out 3 glow sticks. And I'm like, "Who the fuck did this?" And all of our superiors ran and left us.
Yeah, I heard about that trip.
Yeah, it was the trip that I kicked a wolf. I full on kicked a wolf because I thought it was one of the older kids that was messing with us. And because it was like, it could have been like Jake or could have been, Jordan or somebody. And I just remember hearing rustling kind of over by the witch's well, and I was, kind of in this, mentality of like, "All right, guys, we get it, ha ha ha," like it's not funny anymore, like we're lost, let's get back. And all I heard was, and I kicked it, and then I heard a whimper, and it ran off into the woods. And I looked back at everybody else, and they were like, "We should go." I'm like, "Yeah, let's get out of here." And we came around the little patch of like cornfield that was out there, like, because there was like a bigger cornfield, but then there was like kind of like one that almost had like a trail around it or something.
Sure.
And all of the older guys jumped out and scared us. And it was that moment of like, "Man, like how'd you guys get back here so fast?" And they were like, "No, like we ran and we just like we've been hiding here for like 15 minutes or whatever it was." So yeah, like I full on kicked a wolf or like a coyote or something. So and lived to tell the tale. So yeah, but yeah, you never know what's gonna happen.
Good job surviving.
Yes, didn't know I was surviving at the time. Maybe that's why I survived. So, but no, it was just like that was always my favorite thing, man. Like it was just like the one time in that like during that week where it was like, man, like we're going camping this week. Like it's like there's just like Hakuna Matata, like there's just no worries. You get to just relax and do your thing, and it's like never could get knots down. I only got the taut line hitch, but it's like I'm
what I wished
that,
every single camp out could have been.
Yeah,
which was let's show up at this place and have a good time. But we always showed up at a place and it's like, now you're gonna learn something. You're gonna do. And it's like, this fucking blows.
Yeah. Well, even like we would do that, but we would also go to Cabela's. Like where we would take that trip where it was the one time I remember we went to this cabin. I can't remember where it was, but I just remember that like we brought all of our equipment, like our stoves and like all that stuff, like to cook, because I think we were gonna do like biscuits and gravy. We were gonna do oh god, I want to say we were gonna make hobo dinners or like different things like that. And we walked in and there was a full kitchen with like 5 ovens and like a bunch of burners, and we were like, "Oh my god, dude, like we can just hang out and just like not have to worry about like being outside and stuff." I think it was the one time it didn't rain. But it was like it didn't matter.
When you didn't fucking need it, right?
Yeah,
of
no,
course.
but no, it was just that was the same weekend that we had biscuits and gravy for breakfast and lunch. And then somebody found on, I think it was the dark web or whatever, but it was the same week that Saddam Hussein was hung, and we all watched the video in the kitchen.
Jesus.
But dude, that
what
was
a fucking memory.
That was a monumental time where somebody was like, "Do you want to watch him die?" And where everybody was like, "Yeah, sure." Like we're fucking like 11 or some shit, but yeah.
Jesus Christ.
You never knew what was going to happen at a camping trip with Boy Scouts, man. It's just.
He always ended up like, if there was any downtime, people played Magic the Gathering, though.
See, I never played.
I didn't either, but I was well aware of it. I was like, hey, let's do a thing and hang out. And people were like, "Oh, we're gonna play Magic over here," and just like disappeared for like 2 hours at a picnic table. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'll just say. Okay. I guess we'll just look at this little thing that I made out of leather that I hate.
Was that before or after you had a pocket knife? Well, because you always had to get your toad and shit.
Oh hell, I had a pocket knife since I was in 3rd grade.
Oh, so yeah, but like for like Boy Scout standards,
dude, I had that. I had my chip taken away like a couple times. Did it ever stop me from having a knife in my pocket? No.
I'll say you can't give into the machine. You can't.
I remember. I'm pretty sure my dad and me were hanging out, and like we were waiting. I think we were waiting on picking up my mom from work at the school or whatever. And he was just sitting there with his pocket knife cleaning out his fingernails. And I was just like, my fingernails are dirty too. And he's like, here. And he handed me his pocket knife and started cleaning my fingernails out with it. And then I handed it back to him, and he's like, we'll get you one. And then he got me one like the same day or the next day. And then like I just forever have always had a pocket knife.
That's so wild. Yeah.
It's just my life is just, it's a tool. I'm one of the very few people on the planet that's just like, yeah, I have a knife. It's a tool. Because most people see a knife and they're just like, you're gonna kill me.
No, it's like I'm gonna be the person that can get us out of the situation because it can fit into a flathead and I can spin it. You know? So it's
I'm
like
literally going to tighten this screw or cut this twine on this hay bale. Like that's it. That's all I use this damn thing for. I use it to clean my nails more than anything in the world.
Hey, everybody watching the Cavecast. So we got done with the episode and we realized that we ran out of disk space for audio. So we realized also that we got through the entire thing and we didn't even talk about the thing that we were going to be talking about, which is
the National Day calendar.
This is some of the most ridiculous shit, like the things that you've been sending me and like texting me about, like, oh my God, there's a holiday for this. And
it makes me irrationally angry.
So if you guys want to see that on the next episode, we kind of talked about it at the end of this one, but we figured we'd give you some clean audio to be able to do so. But if you guys have enjoyed this, we thank you so much for sticking around for the video. And once again, I'm going to go ahead and give you the floor. Is there anything you would like to tell the audience before we officially sign off until next week?
National Day calendar sucks. And I really wish it was written better. I know there's some good people behind it. But we need to work. I can't, never mind. There's more to say. There's so much more to say that I can't right now. I'm busy.
We will spend an entire episode ripping that apart if you guys would like to hear that. But either way, thank you so much for hanging out with us on this one, man. This has been awesome. And we will see you guys next week. You can say,
thank you. Be safe.